So it's been absolutely ages since we recorded the last episode. How are you doing, Carly boy?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. How you doing yourself?
Aye, good, pretty good. I'm still just going mad on anything Sopranos at the moment. I've been listening to the Talking Sopranos podcast.
Ah, they were playing Glasgow.
Oh, were they?
Yeah, I don't know if that's happened yet, but I remember my brother looking into it. So I think it's the guy who plays Bobby Bacala.
Yeah.
The guy who plays Chrissy. And I've got a feeling in Glasgow they also had the guy who played Big Pussy.
Right, okay. Yeah, it's I can't remember the name of the guy who plays Bobby Bacala, but it's Michael Imperioli, is that his name?
Yeah, I think so.
Christopher
That's how you
Moltisanti.
pronounce it.
But I've just been watching that because it's fascinating. Because they know so much of the behind the scenes stuff, and then they're going through it episode by episode, and then they've got guests on. So they've had Anthony Jr., Meadow, and then they've had various other behind the scenes people, some of the writers and all that sort of stuff. I'm only on episode 9, so I've barely even started it. But
Because it's been going for quite a while now, hasn't it?
Since lockdown last year, I think.
Is it? Right,
Yeah,
okay.
I think it started during lockdown. So I've been watching that. I watched all the documentary Sopranos Sessions. These two journalists wrote the book The Sopranos Sessions, but they did these series of documentaries, and they're just conversations. So the first one is the two of them talking about the Sopranos and them reporting on the Sopranos over the years, because they basically reviewed the episodes and whatnot. And then the next one is some of the cast just sitting around having a meal.
Okay.
So it's Johnny Sack, Furio, Big Pussy, Carlo. I can't really remember who Carlo is, but he's there. So again, that's really good because you just get insight from the actors on what happened behind the scenes and various things and that. And then the final one's an interview between these two journalists and David Chase. So
right, okay.
So it's a lot. It's a lot to get through, but it's quite good.
I think I might have seen clips of that, or it must have been from another documentary. I just remember, I'm trying to forget his name now. It's the barman, the guy who plays the barman from The Bing.
The guy's always getting the shit kicked out of him.
Yeah.
And
he's
Tony always
basically,
beats up.
he's talking about how he was almost kind of winding Jim Gandolfini up, but I think by the sounds of things they had quite a good working relationship, but the director was getting a bit annoyed because I think he obviously, losing daylight hours or whatever and just wanted to get the scene done. And then it cut to scenes of Jim Gandolfini basically psyching himself up to get into the role. He would be smoking cigarettes, blowing big billows of smoke all over the place, and then I think there's a pickup truck or something, and he just starts punching the pickup truck. Really quite strange, and making these weird noises, obviously just psyching himself up to, play an absolute brute in one of the scenes.
Yeah, sure, on the podcast, they talk about how most of the cast smoked, but Jim Gandolfini didn't smoke, but he would sometimes smoke, like you say, before a scene or whatever to get him in the mood. And I think he would he'd drink shitloads of coffee to get himself completely amped up as well. Sometimes if he needed to be in a certain place for a scene.
Aye.
It's quite fascinating how they do it.
So obviously you went to see the Many Saints of Newark.
I did.
What were your thoughts?
I enjoyed it. it. I didn't love it, but I did enjoy it.
Do you think it lived up to the hype?
No. And it's almost inevitable that it didn't live up to the hype. Yeah. But I did enjoy it. I think it was good to get some sort of insight into where Christopher comes from, because it gets you get an idea of, because Christopher's he seems quite a normal guy a lot of the time, and then he just has these bouts of insane rage, and you kind of see that in his father throughout the film. But I don't know, it felt like it was focusing partly on Dickie Moltisanti and partly on Tony, And I don't feel like it really spent enough time on either of them, and it didn't necessarily spend enough time on their relationship to make you really believe that, you know, Dickie Moltisanti was like a father to Tony. It didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't. You know. It felt like it could have been a lot longer, or potentially a series or something.
I think it would have probably worked a lot better as a mini-series, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like a 6-part series or something like that. For me, I didn't feel as if it ever really took off from the ground.
Yeah.
It kind of felt as if it was building towards something, obviously, with the kind of African-American gangs and the Montesanti or the DeMeo family feuds. And there was a bit of that. I mean, there was a couple, well, I think there was just the one sort of gunfight out in the street. And that was kind of it.
I agree with you. Didn't really feel like it took off. It felt like it was building. It didn't even really feel like it was building to anything. It was just kind of happening.
It's kind of bitty.
Yeah, but which I didn't necessarily hate, because I kind of just enjoyed being in that world again.
Yeah.
But it would have been good if there was more. It felt like it had more of a direction than it did.
Honestly, I just remember going to see it. Obviously, I was really hyped up to go and see it, but I remember walking out of it and just being like, like, I think that's the perfect way to describe it. I was just a bit like, I was just so underwhelmed. Because, I mean, I was really hyped for it. I was watching, I didn't actually get round to watching the full of The Sopranos before I went to see the film. That's something I had planned on doing. But I was watching a lot of clips on YouTube and what have you in preparation to go and see it, and kind of familiarising myself with the lore of The Sopranos and the background to each of the characters. But I just remember thinking, yeah, that's all right, I guess. But I'm not going to rush out to go and see it again. I suppose at the same time, though, I mean, it did make me want to see more. And I suppose there's scope for them to make more.
There is talk. I think there has been talk about a new HBO series, but
right, okay.
I don't know if that's actually been confirmed, because I think David Chase had initially said, "I'm not going to do a series."
Well, he's been adamant that that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, but I'm sure I read something recently that kind of suggested that might happen, but
he might change his mind. Yeah.
So who knows? But it was a bit underwhelming. But I don't know. Maybe on a
second view, you might kind of get a bit more out of it.
But yeah, definitely. I was hyped for it as well, and it just didn't really deliver. Anyway, it's enough about that.
It's not finished. It's finished.